All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out time on a Sunday morning and joining us here and investing time in learning. I promise you the next 1 hour that you spend with us is going to be very, very interesting, and you're going to be learning a very, very, I would say, important topic. And in fact, Rupal and I, before we let you in, we were discussing that this is going to be a very, very interesting topic because these days we've been hearing from everyone that work has been very, very hectic for all of us. As in, suddenly office work has become very, very much. And this topic is going to help you how to ease your burden and how you can become more efficient. I'm sure you all are eagerly waiting to hear from Rupal, as the topic is using Gen AI in project management, how and why. But before I hand over the mic to Rupal, a quick introduction about her. She's a good friend. She's a global thought leadership specialist. She has 9 years of international experience in thought leadership and research, technology and project management, and transformation. She's involved in multiple research projects at PMI, including flagship Pulse of Profession, PMI AI reports, and webinars, and organizations agility. Rupal has graciously been with us, as in she's hosted a couple of webinars earlier, as in she's been a speaker, and she comes up with very, very interesting topics. And this time, I think this is a topic which everyone's looking forward to. So I will not waste a lot of time, and I will hand over the mic to Rupal. Rupal, over to you.
Thank you so much, Deepthi. And I feel like this has become our yearly spring tradition of doing a webinar for the North India chapter. This is what the third year in a row. So I'm
Yes.
super happy about that. Okay, so we're gonna get started. But before we do, I just want to kind of talk about a little bit of essentially hygiene rules. I'm sure you're going to have questions as we go. I'm sure you're going to want to talk about stuff. So please, please, please feel free to use the chat function. I might not be able to monitor it because I'm sharing my screen, but Deepthi here will. And if you have questions, I want to let you know that at the end, we're going to have a good 10 to 15 minutes for question answers. So please note down your questions. And when we have a chance, you can kind of plug them in at the end, because we'll not be able to monitor all questions and take note of them as we go. That becomes very difficult. But in the end, we can take all the questions together. But if you have thoughts, please put them in the chat. We're happy to hear. Awesome. So we're going to get started. Today's session is about using GenAI in project management, how you should do it, and more importantly, why you should do it, right? It's this new thing that is there, and what is the use for you? So here's what we have planned today for the agenda. We have about the next 6 to 7 minutes to set the context, to kind of talk more about why we're talking about this topic. Then we're going to dive into some really like immediate benefits and strategies you can see, some hands-on work that you can do. I'm literally going to plug prompts into tools and show you what's happening with them and what happens when you use GenAI and how it's going to help you. We're going to have about 5 minutes to summarize all the key takeaways. And like I mentioned, we're going to have an open Q&A in the end, at least for 10 minutes. So Deepthi already introduced me. We can completely skip over this slide, but I do want to take a second to introduce the team that I'm a part of. So I work at PMI's global office. PMI is a globally remote organization. And what that means is we have team members around the world for each team. And my team, which is the thought leadership team, is part of the CEO's office at PMI. We report into the chief of staff to the CEO, Ms. Lenka Pincott. And it's a team of about 12 to 13 people based out of approximately 7 or 8 different countries. We have people from US, Europe, UK, Brazil. I'm based out of India. And what do? Well, we're a team of subject matter experts. We come from all spaces, whether it's sustainability or Gen AI or project management core principles. Like we have people who are PhDs in project management and agile methodologies, etc., who are part of the team. We have experienced leaders who are part of the team, and our main job essentially is to inform the profession on what is going on with itself. So whether you pick a topic like AI or you pick remote working, which is what we did as a topic last year for this PMI-NIC session, we kind of dig into what that's doing for the space of project management and what the good, the bad looks like. Not only does the research we do inform PMI internally, we also make it available free of cost for everyone in the world. It's available in the form of reports. We do webinars all the time. We do approximately 2 webinars that you can attend. They're open to everyone. They're held on projectmanagement.com actually. And essentially, it's about distributing the knowledge we have and making it available to the profession. We focus on 3 core areas. One is the individual, which is the individual project manager and their needs and wants and desires and challenges. Then is the state of the profession. So essentially, what is happening globally in project management. And accordingly, if you blend the two, you come to the topic of enterprise and innovation, which is what do organizations need to do to support project professionals on the journey right now. So that's kind of what we do. We argue for the project professional as well. We give you points as to what you can talk about in your organizations as well. Coming to the topic of AI. So all of the research that PMI has been doing for AI has been coming from my team. And essentially, that means the first report we put out, Shaping the Future of Project Management with AI, this was around September, October 2023 is when we put this report out. We put some more stuff out January 2024 on prompt engineering. And since then, we have done 2 more research pieces on first movers advantage and pushing the limits. So first movers advantage is what is the first movers advantage you get if you use GenAI as a project manager. And pushing the limits is all about going on a granular level and talking about tasks and how do you use it and what does it look like and what the everyday of it will be. So this is the work that today's session is going to kind of be informed from. But you can find all of this online. You just have to literally Google PMI-X AI. You Google that, you're going to land on PMI's AI hub, and you're going to have all of this information present there. So the big question of why are we talking about AI in project management? Is it just another fad? Is it just like blockchain a few years ago? Before that, I think there were project management tools that were kind of becoming the big thing that everyone was talking about. Like every few years, there's a new technology and people are going gaga over it. Is AI similar? And if not, then why? So the reason we're talking about AI is because AI is revolutionizing project management in transforming how tasks are done. Not just that what tasks are done, but also how tasks are done. When we think of AI, we think of automation. But automation is only one of the things. It does help us reduce time spent on daily tasks, but there's a lot more that AI can do. AI is used in project management, to kind of assist people, to kind of augment tasks, to do a bunch of other things more than just automation. AI has been explored in the space of project management for decades now. It's not new. The reason it sounds new is because suddenly we have ChatGPT and everyone is talking about ChatGPT. But use of AI in project management goes back to 1980s, 1990s. There's documented use cases even from that far back. And the release of ChatGPT in 2022 marked a significant shift in how we see AI, because suddenly AI did not, it was no longer a tool that only some people could use. It's something that you can talk to in your natural language today. And that is what made the shift happen, that you as a person without any specific AI skills or without any data science skills can go and use AI. Where does AI sit and where does GenAI sit? So the big question of when we say GenAI, what does that even mean, right? A lot of people keep confusing GenAI, AI, machine learning, deep learning, LLMs, all of these words, but this is roughly what it looks like. So we just want to clear some basics, and this is one of the basics, that AI is the bigger window. Within that, you have machine learning. Within that, you have deep learning. Within that, you have LLMs, which are large language models. And within large language models is what you have generative AI. This is your ChatGPT, this is your PMI Infinity, your Midjourney, your DALI, your Gemini, your Bard, your Llama, your Stable Diffusion, even your Microsoft Copilot sits in the generative AI space, which is why, just by the way, a large language model is all about language, which is why if you ask ChatGPT a mathematical question, there's a very high probability it will get it wrong, because mathematics is not a large language model. If you ask it what is this divided by that, it doesn't know how to do the division because it's not language. That would sit in a mathematical model language, a mathematical model, which would sit within machine learning and not within large language models. So just a very quick tidbit on what differentiates large language models and generative AI from mathematical tools. Moving on to the question of why, again, we should be talking about generative AI, right? So it's, again, very documented. And this is some of our research as well. This comes from so many other spaces as well. So this particular data on the screen I have is from the Microsoft and LinkedIn's 2024 Work Trends Annual Report. And this report says that upskilling is very, very important for people in the Gen AI space today, and they are seeing that. 76% of people say they need they need AI skills to remain competitive in the job market today. And 66% of leaders would not hire someone without an AI skill, which is something very, very important for any professional in the workspace today, whether it is a project professional or otherwise. Hence, upskilling fast and leveraging the technology are becoming key things you need to have in the market. They're key advantages, but they're soon going to become key must-haves. Going further into what does using Gen AI really bring for you? You know, the why. Like, yes, having the skill is important to get a job is one aspect of it, but what about the rest? Well, those with Gen AI, and this is from our own research, the first movers advantage, those using Gen AI in projects have a lot of documented benefits we are seeing. I'm going to go into those benefits, but before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about what does using Gen AI even mean, right? If you did one question,
sorry to interrupt. I was about to ask that.
yeah. So essentially, what like is using, say, ChatGPT to answer one or two questions in the day called using Gen AI, or what does using Gen AI really mean for us to study it, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that before I go into the benefits that we found. So on the screen, you see two terms, trailblazers and explorers. Trailblazers, as the name says, are people who are kind of ahead of the game. So these are people who are using Gen AI for more than 51% of the tasks in their projects. So if you have, let's say, 10 tasks you need to do on a daily basis, out of the 10, at least for 5 of them, you're using Gen AI on some capacity. It could be something as simple as getting it to do minutes of a meeting for you, or it could be something as big as using it to generate a template that you can use to create a charter for your project, right? It can be anything. Explorers are people who are still very early on in the game. They are still stuck at a maximum of 15%. So out of 10 tasks, they are maybe using it for 1.5 tasks at maximum. And essentially, when we study them further, we find out that not only that they're using it for more tasks in general, they're using it for more tasks on each project. So it's not like if you're working on 10 projects, the only average counts, but also on each project, you find trailblazers using Gen AI more and explorers using Gen AI less. With that in mind, I'm going to go a little towards what were the benefits we found. So here's point one, which is that we could documentedly find that people using Gen AI are finding a better individual performance. They are higher in productivity, they're better at problem solving, they're better at effectiveness, they're better at creativity, and they're better at collaboration. Collaboration is an interesting one because collaboration technically is something you do with your team. So how is a tool helping you get better at collaboration is amazing. And we're going to talk a little more about that later. But note that it's also helping you with collaboration. And this is studying trailblazers against explorers. Mind you, we haven't even studied them against people who are not using AI at all. So we might find that the numbers against people who are not using AI at all might be even higher. So trailblazers documentedly report better individual performance factors. That's not all. They also report better on project factors. So stuff like project quality management, project scope management, project cost management, project schedule management are things that trailblazers are reporting much better at than explorers, and they could be potentially reporting much better at in comparison to people who are not using AI at all. Okay, so with this information, I think I'm going to take a second before we switch up and ask you guys how many of you are currently using ChatGPT. So what you can do is there's a raise hand function in your reactions on Zoom. If you're using GenAI or other tools like ChatGPT at all, why don't you go ahead, raise your hand, and we're going to see how many people end up raising their hand. Oh, I see a lot of hand raises. This is nice.
Around
Okay.
9.
Yeah. Out of, I think, about 26, 27 people on the call. So I'm guessing that's like at least.
There are approximately 59 people on the call right now.
Oh, sorry, completely forgot. I can't see the number after I got into the presentation. But okay, so 9 out of 59.
15.
15 out of 59. Okay, so that's like.
17. Okay, 18.
Okay, so the number keeps rising. That tells us at least 1/3 people on this call are using AI.
Yeah.
Amazing. We can lower our hands. Thank you so much for participating, guys. So before we dive in further on a task level, I want to talk about how we want to talk about AI in general, right? The question of, is AI a threat or an opportunity? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reframe this question, because you don't need to be worrying about, is AI a threat or an opportunity, because it's very established by now that AI is an opportunity. You need to be worrying about, how do we leverage GenAI or AI to make project professionals the winners in this race, right? We don't want to have project professionals who are not skilled for the job they want to do. We don't want project professionals who feel like they are not completely skilled for their workforce. They completely don't know what's going on right now. They feel like their jobs might be under threat from AI. We don't want that. So we want the conversation to be about, how do project professionals become the winners? And today's conversation is going to be focused on that. Like I promised, we're going to go on a task by task level. So with our research, we found what you see on the screen today. It's essentially a broad way of how project professionals can start tapping into AI. What you see is a graph, which essentially is about strategies to adapt AI in project work. You have 3 circles here. Each circle, so as you see the x-axis and the y-axis, the x-axis is about machine and human. So the further you get from the center, the more human level the task becomes. As you can see, taking meeting notes is something that can be automated, but creating a business case for a project is very human, right? You have to kind of have a very high human involvement there. So on the x-axis, you have machine versus human. On the y-axis, you have how computers essentially do on these tasks. Is it something that computers can help you with, or is it something computers can't help you with? So what we discovered was that project management tasks, more or less, this cannot be held universal, so we're talking about majorly, more or less fall in 3 buckets. First is the bucket of automation. Second is the bucket of assistance, and third is the bucket of augmentation. Automation is stuff that can more or less be done by an AI completely. What I mean by that is taking meeting notes. All of us know of agents and transcript taking bots that can be added to calls. You have Assembly, you have a bunch of other things. I think there's something called Fireflies. A lot of organizations are using these now, where you have just essentially a bot that's added to a call, and it takes all the notes for you, and it does the transcripts and gives you all the important points at the end, right? That's complete automation. It can be done for any conversation, regardless of its project management or not. Second thing is, if you take those notes, or if you take the transcripts that Firefly's assembly created, and you put it into a chat GPT and ask it to generate a report, can it generate a report? Yes, it can. It will give you a report of what happened on the call. If you tell it, I need these 10 questions answered from this call, it'll give you the answers to that call, questions, right? That's report generation. Is it something that can be automated? Yes, it can be automated. But as you move further towards the human tasks, can risk analysis be automated? No. But can you use AI and GenAI tools to inform your risk analysis? Yes. Can you use GenAI and AI tools to inform your cost and schedule estimations? Yes. Moving further on the human side of the spectrum is augmentation. As the name says, you're using it only to augment your thought process. So it's like you just use the tool as someone who's your verbal conversation partner, or like imagine talking to an actual human being next to you and being like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think? And I'll give you some ideas, and everything it tells you will not be true, it will not be valid, but you can take some of the points it is telling you and you can go apply that. Like if I ask Deepti, hey, what should I make for dinner, and Deepti can give me 10 ideas, and I might go take one of those ideas. Or she might say, oh, you can make pasta, and you can make noodles, and you can make dal chawal. And I might be like, no, I don't want to make any of those. But dal reminds me I can make dal bati churma, right? That's again, it's augmentation. Because I took an idea that she gave me or an AI tool gave me, and I made it my own, and I fit it to my own needs. So things like creating a business case for a project, things like project decision making, are things you can only augment with AI. What does any of this mean? I know this sounds really, really complicated and maybe really, really simple to a lot of people. It could be both of those things. But what does that mean for you in the everyday? Well, we're trying to go on a task by task level. And we're going to go and apply some of this in an AI tool. But I just want to take 2 minutes and talk about how trailblazers and explorers are doing some of this. So one of the main things, as you see on the screen, if you look at automation, summarizing, reviewing, monitoring, reporting, we see trailblazers are using AI for these a lot more than explorers. Things like data analysis, planning, budgeting, risk management, assistance tasks, essentially. We again see trailblazers are using AI a lot more than explorers are. And the same holds true for augmentation, things like communication, talent, and resource management, decision support. We see that trailblazers are 3x more likely to utilize GenAI for augmenting their skills than in comparison to explorers. So if you go back to this chart, you realize that augmenting is a lot more complicated than automation is. And we realize that trailblazers are a lot better at using AI for those more complicated tasks than explorers are. So not only are they using it more frequently, they're also using it for more complicated tasks. It's like a double advantage, right? Not only say, am I making a better dish, I am making a much more complicated dish. So it makes me a much better cook than somebody who's making a very simple omelette. So again, more reason for why you need to kind of get on with using Gen AI and what that would mean like for you. As I promised, we're going to do task by task. So I'm going to have to stop my screen share for a second and open an AI tool so that I can reshare it. Okay, I'm just going to share my entire window. Sorry if something random pops up. But okay, so we're going to go through 3 different tasks and use cases, one in each bracket, one in automation, one in augmentation, and one in assistance. The tool I'm going to have open here is going to be PMI Infinity. The reason I'm using PMI Infinity is because as a PMI team member, that is really the only tool I can officially endorse. But this It's something you can use with any chat GPT, any cloud tool, any of the other AIs. You can try it with Llama. You can try it with anything you really want. And I'm sure if you can see my screen, you can see chat GPT right here. You can see Claude right here. So we use those tools all the time as well. So the first tool, the first prompt we're going to start with is, how do you use GenAI to kick off a project meeting, right? This is very much on the automation side. What will you do with it? So as you see on the screen, some words are highlighted. The reason some words are highlighted is because those words are important in the prompt. And if you get those words wrong, or if you use a different word, you will get a different answer. Essentially, as you see on the screen, the prompt reads, I'm a project lead working for a consulting firm on a project with a sustainability goal. So what am I establishing? I'm establishing who I am. I'm establishing the project I'm working on, and I'm establishing the kind of organization in industry I'm in. We are in the planning phase of the project, and we are going to proceed with an incremental approach. So I told it what approach to follow as well. If I change this to maybe an agile approach, the answer will be different. I have medium knowledge of the approach. So I know the approach. Okay. I'm not a master in it, but I'm also not a newbie. Outline the key topics to cover in the project kickoff call to ensure a successful project start, including but not limited to the initial introductions, project objectives, stakeholder roles, timeline expectations, and any pertinent sustainability goals. Provide a structured agenda that promotes comprehensive understanding and sets the tone for a productive and successful collaboration. So this is the prompt we are going to use. I'm going to literally copy this prompt and go and put this into the tool. This tool, by the way, is available to all PMI members. So people who are on this call are, I'm assuming, all PMI members. So you can all access PMI Infinity as part of your PMI membership. And PMI Infinity is a tool that has already been trained on all the PMI content. Our reports, your PMBOK guide, your practice guides, everything is the tool. The tool has been trained on it. So for project management, it will give you better informed answers than ChatGPT because it's, again, specifically designed for project management tasks. So like I put this into the tool. What the tool did was it gave me a call agenda, minute by minute. Welcome and introductions, do this. Project overview, talk about the presentation of project background and context. Explain the project objectives and goals. Discussion of importance of sustainability in the project, which is why the industry was important. You have project scope and deliverables to discuss, stakeholder roles and responsibilities, sustainability goals and objectives, risk management communication plan. Now, I'm going to ask it to write me an email invite to send to all stakeholders with the agenda and invite them to the call. Okay. So it's going to take a few seconds like any tool does, and it's going to write this email. It's going to put the agenda in there. It says, hey, I hope this message finds you well. We're excited to announce the kickoff meeting for a new project. Your participation is crucial, yada, yada, yada. Drafting this email from scratch would have taken a lot more time. I'm not saying this is the most perfect email. I'm sure if we start picking this email apart, we can have 10 things we would write a different way. But it gives you a very good template. So what I can do is I can copy this entire email, edit it, and send it according to what I want. Maybe I don't want the closing remarks to be 5 minutes. Maybe I don't want to talk about risk management right. Maybe I want to have more details on scope and deliverables that I want to put in the emails, right? I can do that, but it saved a lot of thinking time for it. Automated the entire email to a huge extent. I ask it to go further in details, it will. Okay, let's say if I want to add sustainability company is, I don't know, Capgemini right now. Okay. I ask it to add, go deeper into the scope. I want you to add that the deliverable is a decarbonization Urbanization strategy to be delivered to the board. I'll ask it to do that. It will go back and completely add these things. So again, like we mentioned, it is doing a lot for you. It's not completely automating your job, but it's giving you a base to work off of. Right? So it went and it added these. It added a discussion on components of decarbonization strategy. I didn't even need to tell the tool what components to add. It added a few components. I can go change it. If I take the same prompt and I am going to now change the industry, let's say I am a new project leader. Okay. So I don't know much about managing. Let's say I'm a new project manager. Leader is even more senior. I don't know much about project management right now. I am working with a logistics firm on a project with a sustainability company. Okay, great. We're going to change this on a project about delivering medicines to a hospital, to hospitals in a city. Okay, let's just take that. We are in the planning phase of the project, but we are going to proceed with a waterfall approach. I have zero knowledge of this approach. Outline the key topics for me. Let's see what it gives me. It's going to give me something completely different from what it gave for the previous project. So because I have zero knowledge, it's also telling me that I just don't have to put project objectives. It's telling me I need to clearly state the goal of the project. I need to clearly outline the key deliverables and the boundaries. It did not tell me that because previously I told it I have medium knowledge, which means I know some stuff about project management. I told it I have zero knowledge, so it started telling me more information. Let me tell it more. I don't completely understand this. Tell me more about waterfall approach in this context, what it means for my project. So I'm talking to it like I would to a human being. So it's giving me the details. It can be something I use, I copy, it tells me stuff, that it's a sequential process, it needs to be documented this way. What is the list of documents I need to create for this project? Great. So it will give me a list of documents I need to create now. It gave me a list of documents. I need to create a project charter, stakeholder analysis, responsibility assignment matrix, communication management plan, financial analysis. Let's say I ask it to create a project charter template for me. It will go do that. It will, I'm talking to it. It will give me a template. It will give me something usable. It will not be zero. So this is what some of using GenAI looks like. So it started to give me a template. This is where project title will be, project manager, project sponsor, date, what all I need to add here, etc., etc. This is how you can continue on. So like I mentioned, project kickoff meeting is about automation. That's one bit we covered. Going to the next one, a detailed project timeline. So I'm going to give it more detailed as a project. So I'm gonna go a little and talk about the prompt first. Let's look at the prompt. I'm a project manager overseeing a construction of a commercial building with a budget of $1 million. The project involves site preparation, foundation, structural framing, exterior finishes, interior finishes, and final inspection. We are in the planning phase of the project and I am new to commercial construction. We are planning to use a predictive approach, provide a comprehensive project timeline that I can use as a template, including estimated durations for each phase, considering dependencies and potential delays. So dependencies and potential delays are things that it has to think by itself. We are not telling it what the dependencies are or what the potential delays are. We are going to ask it to think for itself. I'm going to start a new chat. And I'm just going to put that prompt in here and hit So it's going to generate a response. It's giving me, okay, project timeline template. First, you start with project preparation, site preparation. It'll take about 4 weeks. What are the dependencies? Must be completed before foundation work begins. Okay. Foundation is next 6 weeks. Structural framing is next 8 weeks. Exterior finishes are 10 weeks. Interior finishes are 12 weeks. Final inspection, 2 weeks. I want you to detail potential dependencies more. This is not detailed enough. Also, I want you to add the potential spend next to each activity so I know how much budget is going there. Again, I am asking it questions completely out of the air. I did not practice any of this. If you want a question that you want to ask it, we can totally add that also. Please feel free to put something if you want to.
Yeah.
But
So, Rupal, while the prompt is giving us answers, Preeti wants to know, can you get open source projects to implement real-time project prompt to get experience?
what do you mean by open source projects? Like you mean a tool or like can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Preeti, would you like to talk about it? The question isn't super clear.
So I wanted to know that I am using different AI tools, taking all these webinars on practical applications for GenAI, but I
Yeah.
want to actually implement them in a project. Right now, I'm not associated with any project or a company. So I want to have the hands-on feel so that I know that, okay, I can create a charter, I can get requirements for a stakeholder, or I can implement things that I've learned in project management, basically. So how do I get a hold of such open projects where I can, have some hands-on,
Got it.
real time?
Okay, thank you for that, Preeti. I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to it. It is
Sure,
something I do have a good answer for you, but I'm just going to put a pin in that right now and finish this prompt.
sure.
Like we mentioned, it has added estimated spend and it has told us a little more about where our budget is going. Now, if I want, and it's also giving us resources, by the way, of where this information is coming from. It's not completely in the blind. I can ask it to give me the direct link also of places it is using for the information. I can say, give me this in a table so I can paste it into an Excel. Okay, so it's going to give this to me in a table and I can copy paste this into an Excel and make my job a lot more easier. Again, like I mentioned, some of this you'll have to change. It's not set in stone, right? None of this, a lot of project managers from the construction industry looking at this might be like, this is not okay, that is not okay, this is not fine, budgets are not estimated this way, but it's giving you a template to work off of. So you can change it. This is why it's assisting you. It's not doing your job for you. So give me this, I can go apply this. I'm going to move on to the last prompt. I'm also mindful of time. We're 40 minutes in, and then we're going to kind of go to Q&A after that. Okay, so the last prompt we have is, imagine you're a project manager leading a decarbonization project in the oil and gas industry. You need to conduct a risk assessment, identify key risks related to regulatory compliance, technical feasibility, financial impact, stakeholder resistance, supply chain challenges, etc., etc. Break them down into smaller questions that explore potential outcomes, mitigation strategies, and critical milestones. Compare alternative solutions, do a whole, give me a details of cost, risks, etc. So that's my prompt. I'm telling it to do all of these various things. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the tool, again, in a new chat here, and let's see what it gives us. So it's literally because I told it to break it down into key questions and explore potential outcomes. That's what it's doing. Question 1, regulatory compliance. What are the current and upcoming regulations that impact the project? Potential answers. I can ask it to detail the answers more, by the way. Let's say I pick this and I'm like, I want more details on the answer to this. Okay. It's telling me about technical feasibility, financial impact, stakeholder resistance, supply chain challenges, comparing alternative solutions, etc. So is it going to give me more details? Yes, it's going to give me more details. What is the current regulation? National regulations, international regulations. What are your sources? Sorry, please don't mind my spellings. I'm just typing very fast. Give me all your sources in a list. But it did give you this, right? So this is what it's doing. It's giving me potential ways I can reach out to the same information. And it's giving me a list. So if I'm looking at this list as a project manager, I'm like, okay, emission standards, something I need to worry about. Do I need to worry about national emissions reduction targets? Yes. Do I need to worry about the Paris Agreement? Maybe not. Right? Doesn't really matter to me right now. So I can completely let it go. International Maritime Organization regulations, I don't think I need to worry about it right now. Right? Or I could need to worry about it. I don't know. So like I mentioned, it's giving us many potential ways to think about different projects, hence augmentation. So the first prompt, project kickoff meeting, was more on the automation side. It gave you a template you can copy, paste, and use. Second one was on the assistant side. It can give you a tool you work with. You maybe put it in an Excel sheet and you make changes, and maybe it's doing 20% of your job, 30% of your job. Maybe it's saving you 20 minutes in an hour. Final risk assessment, maybe it's only saving you 5 minutes in the hour, but it's giving you a thought partner. It's giving you somebody to think your thoughts out loud with, consider questions that you might not consider otherwise. So this is augmentation. If you want to find more about any of this, we have this thing called a prompt engineering guide. It's a sort of ebook / report, which has a lot of these prompts in there and a lot of other prompts in the back. There's a glossary of prompts. There's also a prompt engineering course that PMI has, which is available to its members free of charge. So if you want, you can look at that course and figure out how to generate prompts, because AI is about knowing how to talk to the tool. If you don't get the question right, like I said, if you change consulting to a pharmaceutical project, if you change medium knowledge to zero knowledge or advanced knowledge, the answer you're going to get is completely different. So you need to know what information to give AI so you can get what you want from it. Concluding this with a few key takeaways, and then we're going to go to Q&A, and I already have Preeti's question. One of the main things you need to do is do not limit yourself and your adoption to low complexity tasks. Unless you try harder stuff, you're not going to know that it can help you with it. You might fail, it might be frustrating, but do not limit yourself. Those project professionals leading in adoption are already building a critical advantage. You need to catch up. And if you don't, you're going to feel the pain of it in a few years. You're going to feel like, with project management tools, with technology in general, you're going to feel that handicap. Consider combining advanced GenAI skills and capabilities with unique project management power skills. So let's say you're amazing at negotiation. I'm sure AI has a lot of advanced GenAI capabilities to add to your negotiation. Talk to it about your negotiation. Talk to it about, hey, this is what I'm doing, how I'm approaching it. What do you think? What are some other things I should keep in mind? Combine your power skills with AI. It's not one or the other. And adopt a proactive approach towards adoption. Be very, very forthright in trying to do these things. Don't wait for someone to come and tell you, hey, we as an organization want you to use AI. Only then you start using it, right? So don't wait for your organization to catch up all the time. So that's what we have for today. If you want to look at the resources, here's a link. You can go scan this QR code or go to PMI-NIC and essentially find all the information that I talked about today. And I'm going to take a sec and go back to Preeti's question now, and we're going to then dive into Q&A. So Preeti, I think the quickest answer I have for you is if you search for projects or mock projects online, you'll be able to find some. Another thing you can do is we have here guided experiences and tools within Infinity. So you can use some of this. You can, like, guided experiences are things that, people can use to kind of go through their whole, like, managing project sustainability, right? If you go through this and you ask it to give you a mock project, it will give you a mock project. It will give you some information about how to try this. You can also go to the prompt library and ask it to give you some projects of, hey, I'm from this industry, give me a mock project, I want to test my skills. If you go to tools, you can start building a project charter. You can start a risk management plan. Start and see what happens. And if you're not able to get anywhere with it, ask it to give you more mock ideas and it will do, right? So
Yeah, so I did try like making a project charter for so-called LLC for my husband, and we did get the skeleton basically of it. But then that's further prompting that you want, how do you want to adapt to get
yes,
it adapted. And but yes, this resource would be good where I can, like, as a project manager, I would also want to collaborate with the team and also create a schedule, cost, budget outline. Like, I have read all this in PMP exam, I've done that, but now I want some resources. I am from US, but I am here in India and in Badayu for now. But definitely I want to have some hands-on. That's why I was asking you this question. But I will definitely try out those PMI guides that you said.
you can also find people in the community, by the way. Like, it doesn't have to be limited to just tools, right? I'm sure if you go to the PMI community forums, there are other people also trying to find this. Or I'm sure in
Right.
the chat as well, like there are like 64 people here I see right now, participants. So I'm sure some of these people would be open to bringing their projects and talking about it as well. Awesome.
Sure.
I see one question from Sohail Kadir. It says, in future, will there be domain-specific AI tools for value addition? What do you mean by domain-specific? Like, you mean within a tool or within a website?
What I could infer is that he's specifically asking that in PMI Infinity, will there be domain specific AI tools?
Industry specific. Yes, there will be.
Yeah, right.
We as an organization are trying to again build this as we go. So we are considering adding industry specifications to it. We are considering adding a lot more to it. While I cannot promise anything because again it's an organizational decision, but there have been talks of industries and specific domains to kind of make it more more useful to the people using it.
Thanks, Rupal. So I hope we answered your question. In case you meant to ask something else, feel free to put it in the chat window. Okay,
And feel
Preet.
free to put other questions as well. We have a good 11 minutes to go through.
Yeah. So anyone who has question, they can raise the hand and ask the question, or they can put in their question in the chat window. While we wait for others to ask questions, Preeti has another question. She wants to know that what are the some AI adoptions in pharma?
Okay, so with pharma, honestly, I'm not really somebody who can give you a list of what is happening in the industry as an industry expert. But what I can tell you is the project professionals we are talking to are seeing on the project side, AI being used for inventory management, forecasting, for resource planning. They're also on the actual side of the project, not the project management side. AI and GenAI are being used to kind of obviously look at patterns in how different medicine productions kind of meet the market needs and all of those things. So there are a lot of like supply chain management that is happening in pharma with AI. And one of the people we spoke to, and one of our earlier reports was actually from GSK. I think we have also had her for a webinar. She talked about a lot of specific use cases. GSK is a Europe-based, I forget which country, but Europe-based pharma organizations. If you want to look it up, I'm sure there are a few use cases we mentioned where she went into details about what they're using GenAI for.
So one more question I had, Rupal, like if you want to get into an, let's say right now I'm transitioning from another industry and I want some entry level uh, place. So some of the openings they mention AI, then machine learning, then Python, and is it necessary to have the like the coding knowledge or I mean I feel it is not, but I don't know if that's the requirement. Some
It's a good add-on, but it is not. I am not from a tech background, by the way. I am
right,
working in research and AI space for a while now. I am not from a tech background at all. I cannot code to save my life. So
right,
you don't need to have specific tech skills. You can, that's the entire point of GenAI, that you can talk to it with your language.
right. I mean that's the opportunity that AI is giving, that everybody doesn't. Even hardcore coders are still getting the code from AI. So uh,
Absolutely. I see a question from Mukesh about what
Question.
are,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that there are a couple of questions. One from Mukesh, wherein he wants to know what are some things that we need to be cautious about the responses, specifically being on project management side as well as doing project monitoring. I think this is a very excellent question.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank you so much, Mukesh, for that. I was waiting for a question like that. The first thing you need to be cautious of, okay, let me put it this way. There are all sorts of answers you're going to get about how AI can hallucinate and it can give you wrong information, yada, yada, yada. All of that is very much true. What you need to be very cautious about is have your project management hat on. Don't forget that you are the project manager, not the AI. So whatever it tells you, if something about it is not making sense, if you're like, no, like this doesn't make sense, this is not supposed to happen like this, do not let that go. Make sure you are the project manager in the equation. If something doesn't logically sit right with your gut, please ensure you double check it, you ask it to give you resources, you kind of talk to other people on the team about, hey, this is what it's telling me, do you think this is making sense to you or not? uh, Another thing I would say is, if you're talking about reporting, be very careful about the mathematical side of reporting, because if you're giving it a bunch of data and asking it to kind of interpret it for you, to kind of give you the final calculations, large language models are not mathematical models. They can get the data wrong all the time. If you ask it 2 plus 2 is 4, it can give you a 5 very much. So on the reporting side, be very careful that you do not trust GenAI's calculations at all. Be careful about governance. Be careful about making sure you're not giving it any information you shouldn't be giving it if it's not allowed in your own organization, etc. Be very careful about making sure that the AI is not the one leading the conversation. So you make sure you get it to list everything for you. And I think that should give you a very good starting base.
Thanks, Rupal. Thanks. And I think Amit Anand, just a second, sorry, not Amit. So basically, Pankaj actually mentioned the same thing, that if you could highlight the aspect of hallucination issues of AI control we need to take against, and how we can effectively use human in the loop effectively for this purpose. I think you've already answered this question,
Yeah.
right?
I
Okay.
see a question about construction, by the way. I think that's from Narendra.
Useful in construction industry and how?
It is very much. We have use cases from construction, so many of them. I can't name organizations, but a lot of organizations in the Middle East are using AI in construction, and Middle East is all about construction and petroleum and energy, and you guys know that. There are organizations which use it for project budget monitoring. They have baked GenAI specifics into their project tools so that the budget is on the top all the time. So every time you're kind of adding a new step or rounding up your day, it's telling you where you are on the budget as you go within the tool. Every step you mark off, it tells you where you're on the budget. It tells you how much work has happened, what needs to happen next. It's doing a lot of resource management monitoring. very actively, and these are like very, very popular organizations doing some of this with GenAI in construction.
Nice. And Mohit wants to know that how much should we share while explaining the AI tool, the problem statement, while keeping IP rights in place from our organization?
Got it. Sorry, Mohit, just one more thing that came to my mind about Narendra's construction question. So we have a webinar that did happen. I cannot remember the month, but it happened in 2024. And one of the lead panelists for that was the person who leads the PMO at Dubai municipality, which also takes care of a lot of construction projects. So if you want to look at that webinar, she goes into a lot of detail about how Dubai municipality is using GenAI. So since she's the person who's gone into the details, we can talk about that. If you want to look at that webinar, go for it. You can literally just like, I'll kind of see if I can find a link later and send it to Deepti, but you can Google it and you should be able to find that very easily.
Thanks. Okay, Amit is saying that right now PMI Infinity is giving a 30-day free trial. Any idea how much will it cost after the free period?
For all members. Free
Yeah.
trial is only for non-members.
Yeah, it's not 30-day free trial, right? It's completely free, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Free trial is only for non-members.
Okay, so Amit, in case you're getting this 30-day free trial, that means you're not a member. So become a member and then you can access it for free completely. Okay, next question
I
is
think we were talking about Mohit's question when I went back to the construction one.
Yeah, so Mohit wanted to know how much should we share while explaining the AI tool, the problem statement, while keeping IP rights.
Perfect. Okay. So if your organization is not on board with AI yet, do not tell the tool anything. That first of all, data leaks are a major issue. Gen AI tools without a premium membership do share the data to a common pool. So a chat GPT or a Claude has this function after you get a premium membership to cut off data sharing, and you can do that. So it will not share your data anywhere. It will not do that on corporate licenses as well. On any company provided license, the data doesn't go to the main pool. So if you don't have those premium and company provided licenses, do not share any details of the project. Be very, very, like any of the prompts I used, right? I did not give it a company name. I did not give it any details about, I gave it a sector. I gave it a project budget. I did not give it a client detail, right? I can talk to the AI and be like, hey, I have a client in this industry. This is what I'm up to. This is my budget. This much has been used, but I'm not giving it anything about the main project. It's just got numbers, right? Like if I talk to you about, hey, I have a friend, Sunita has these issues. You don't know who Sunita is. So you have to talk to AI like that. Again, I'm going to refer you back to a source because we don't have enough time and bandwidth to cover all of this right now. Anonymization is the way to go, like Pankaj mentioned. But in the same Dubai municipality webinar I talked about, that entire webinar was on security risks of GenAI. So if you want, we have Heba El Shahi from Dubai municipality talking about security risks. And we have a person who currently works, or at that point used to work for the US government, talking about, again, government and US government, especially on a defense contract, is very, very sensitive information. But they are using GenAI everywhere. So this person talks about how they are using GenAI without worrying about the security risks and what does that look like for them. So that webinar should give you a lot of good information about these two very specific, very, very kind of security oriented sectors and how they are doing it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Rupal. And this answers Varun's question as well, which was very, very similar. Thanks, Varun. Hope it is answered. Now, moving on to the next one. I know it's about time, but we'll take a couple of more questions if that's okay with you, Rupal.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is PMI's roadmap on AI in project, program, and portfolio management? That's a question by Colonel H.S. Kapoor.
Well, that's a much bigger question than for me to answer. But what I can tell you is we are actively working on trying to create that roadmap. The next research piece we have coming out is about what does preparedness and action look like for people and for organizations. And then we're going to talk about these bigger questions of what GenAI for the profession looks like, right? Not on a task level basis, but on a much more broader basis of the industry, of the sector, of the space. So a lot of that research is actively happening. While I do not have answers for that, the research is gonna come out in the year 2025 in different spaces, reports, webinars, different waves. But the same research is going to inform the steps PMI takes as an organization, what features it adds to its tools, what ways it kind of talks about AI to its community, what kind of courses and resources are made available. So all of that is something that we are still working through, because GenAI is a space that has just happened around us and we are still catching up. But I hope you watch out and you get some of the information you're looking for.
Thanks, Rupal. So this is for everyone. I've pasted the PDU code since we are top of the hour for everyone who wants to know. So it's pasted in the chat. I'll also share my screen and share it later. But one last question. This is from Lalit. And he's saying that, is there any AI tool from PMI specific to generate KPIs automatically in software development projects that could be integrated with PM tools like Jira?
We don't have that tool yet. It is, I mean, you can get KPIs, etc., from Infinity and kind of manually import them. But if you're looking to kind of set up a space where it automatically integrates and does the updating for you, that is not a capability that I know of right now. But it might come about, we don't know. So the team is still working on kind of developing Infinity further.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Rupal. I think with that, we've answered almost all the questions. There's one question which is by Nitin, which says, do not think we can use AI for small regular tasks. We
I
can.
use it to plan my workout, to ask what to cook for dinner. I use it to write emails for me all the time. So you can use it for anything.
Yeah, it's very, very helpful. ChatGPT comes for our rescue. Thank you so much, everyone, for this for the time that you've spent on a Sunday morning. I'm sure this was a very, very informative session for you, and you've gained a lot from this session. With that, I would like to thank Rupal on behalf of entire North India chapter for taking up this session. And on behalf of North India chapter, we are honoring Rupal by planting a tree under her name and sharing her valuable insights during our Learning Bites 5 series. So thank you so much, Rupal. I mean, I must say that whenever I reach out to you regarding any session, you're always there. And then the reason I reach out to you, I know that you will always come up with an interesting topic. Last two sessions have been the research work that PMI had done. And this is a topic which I was chatting about earlier, which is very, very important. And I think all of us who are there on call will be able to improve the ways of our working, how we function in our daily lives after attending this session. So thank you so much for that, Rupal.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. And for everyone, this is the PDU code I've already shared in the chat window. So C1184POT0K. And course provider would be PMI North India chapter. You already know the course name, and start date and end date for claiming this PDU code would be February 23rd, and you will be able to gain one PDU under Talent Triangle Ways of Working. In case you want to take a screenshot, please do that. And if you have any queries, you can reach out to me anytime. All right. With that, it's time to say bye-bye to everyone. And happy Sunday morning to everyone. And yeah, we'll come back to you with the details for the next webinar, which we plan to host next month. Till then, have a good day and keep learning and keep knowing new things. So thank you, everyone. And thank you again, Rupal.